Hi, I'm the Global Runner and I'm 51 years old. I've run all my life and I have lifetime PRs of 2:26 in the marathon and 70 minutes in the half marathon. This year I ran PBs in the 10K and in the 5K, and in this video I want to go over how I achieved lifetime PBs aged 51, as well as what I think I can do to improve those PBs next year, even though I'm going to be 1 year older. So this journey really begins, as all journeys do, during COVID, and I've raced all my life. I was running when I was age 10, I ran in school, I ran in university, I carried on running after university. I've got an 800 meter PR of 1:56, I've got a 1500 meter PR of 4:03, but I've always been a runner. And I've got a full-time job and I've got 3 kids. So this was always a hobby for me. One of my best friends actually ran a 2:09 marathon in 1999, back before all the super shoes and all the gels and everything like that. So I saw what it took to become a professional athlete, and that was never going to be me. But I still did my best and I had fun doing it, and I was always a runner. You all know that, that's why you're watching this. You're all runners, and I enjoyed racing. Like, not everyone races, but I always enjoyed the competitive part of racing. And that's something that I didn't want to lose. Now, COVID came around and all the races were cancelled, obviously, as you remember. And at that point, I just was running for the enjoyment of it. And that was fun. That was fun while it lasted. It took the pressure off. But if I'm honest, a big part of me missed the idea of getting ready for a competitive race, getting your body in peak shape, making sure that everything was building towards some ultimate goal. I missed that. And so when COVID came back round, I was a little bit older, as we all were. And I wasn't sure if I could hit any PBs, if I could run fast again. And so the journey started here, trying to work out if I could still run fast past the age of 50. So that was the idea of this. The idea of this series was to try and see if I could get back to my best age 50. And I'm happy to report I did it. So the start of this year, my 5K PR on the road was 16:01. And I seem to do that. I seem to get close to the barrier, but not through it. And this year, in April, I ran 16:01 again in London, around the West Ham Stadium, my football team, and completely surprised myself with the 16:01 5K. Then later on that year, in July, I ran a 15:57 park run, and I was over the moon. That was the first time I'd ever gone under 16, and I did it age 51. You can argue that I wasn't running to my potential in my 20s, 30s and 40s. I would argue I've done things a bit differently, and I've learned from those years, and I've really committed to running fast in my 50s, and it's working. The other thing I did was run a 10K PB, just to prove this wasn't a fluke. I ran 2 lifetime bests this year, aged 51. So my PB at the start of the year for the 10K on the road was 33:06. I had done that in the Sun Run in Vancouver, and I did that probably 10 years ago. This year I ran the same race, the Sun Run in Vancouver, and I was looking for sub 33. I ran 33:02, close but no cigar, but I was over the moon with that result, really happy. So 2 PBs at the lower end of the spectrum in this year, in 2025. I'm particularly happy with the 5K PB because you would expect some of the speed to disappear as you get older, but actually the 2 PBs I ran this year were the 5K and the 10K. Okay, so what got me here? What got me to the point of being able to run the fastest times of my life, age 51? Well, the first thing I think that I did this year, which I haven't done previously, is mega mileage. And I have done mileage in previous years, but never really high mileage. And this year, I have picked that up considerably. I will look at the end of the year as to how much mileage I have actually done. But Garmin tells me that in the last 12 months, I've run 2,870 miles, which is 55 miles a week on average. and 239 miles on average a month. Those are miles. So that's a lot more than I had done in previous years, and I attribute that, the increased mileage, to the better performance. I do think some people need speed to improve their performances and some people need mileage. I think coming from a track background, I need more miles. And this year I was able to increase the mileage slowly and consistently and get to some seriously high mileage. Like I did 225 kilometers, which is 140 miles 1 week when I was training for the New York City Marathon. Now, some people may say that's too much, and for some people it may be too much. And maybe for me it's too much, but at this point, I'm definitely attributing my increased fitness to the increased miles, and I plan on continuing that in 2026. The other thing I did this year, which I hadn't necessarily done in previous years, was become obsessive about the extra stuff. Not obsessive in a bad way, obviously, but obsessive over doing leg weights, doing arm weights, doing push-ups, making sure that every day I do something that adds to the running training. Now, you've got to be a bit careful. You don't want to detract from the running training by doing too much, but I've really been focusing on the weights. And I think if you look good, then you feel good and you run good. So part of it is making sure that the body just operates the way it should. Part of it is making sure that I move properly and that my muscles are able to tolerate what I want to put them through. But also part of it is making sure that I'm just not letting myself slowly decline. And I think that's part of it. The third thing I want to talk about is the mindset. Like, I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, I don't know if the next race or my last race was the last one I'll ever do. I don't know if the next run I do is going to be my last run I ever do. I hope not. I think I've got a lot of years left in me. But it's possible, and you always think about that when you're getting towards the older years. And managing things, I think, is very important. But I don't believe that you necessarily have to get slower the older you get. If I let age become an excuse, then my performances are going to reflect that. If I don't let age become an excuse, and if I don't think that's okay given how old I am, or maybe I'm not going to do that extra mileage because I'm worried I might get injured because I'm old, then that becomes a perpetual cycle of I'll do just that little bit less, and that's okay because I'm old. I'm looking after myself. And that's okay. You got to look after yourself. But equally, if you're not willing to push yourself, if you're not willing to get to the line or even risk breaking it, then at that point, I think you just start settling, and I'm not yet prepared to do that. And that shift in mentality is something that I think has helped me to get through this year with no injuries and with lifetime bests. Like, I'm not prepared to settle for good enough. I want to improve, and I want to make sure that I can still run fast age 51. Now, obviously, self-care is huge as part of this, and I've got an amazing physio and an amazing massage therapist who I go to regularly to keep me in order and to make sure that I get ahead of injuries before they become injuries. So that's something that I would highly recommend. Obviously, you want to make sure that the body's working properly, and the earlier you can get ahead of that before an injury, that is something that you definitely want to be doing. And I attribute that to my good performances this year. So thanks to both of you. Cross-training is a bit controversial. Like, obviously, it's a good thing to do, but not to the extent that it takes away from your real training, which is running. And some good examples are, I did some bike sessions this year, which really took the sting out of my legs for a couple of races. And I think I didn't need those bike sessions. I could have done without those. Obviously, they're going to help me, but you've got to put them in at the right stage of the training. And you don't really want to be doing things which are different, which are potentially going to injure you. Like, it's great challenging your muscles, and it's great challenging different muscles and making sure that your body moves every way that it should. But if you're going to be injuring yourself because you are doing squats or pool running or on the bike or on the elliptical. Like I went on the elliptical a few weeks ago and my back was super sore. Now maybe that's a weakness in my back which needs improving, but if that's to the detriment of my running, then I need to make sure that I cross-train but in the right way. So while I'm a fan of cross-training, I'm definitely not a fan of over cross-training. The other thing that I did this year, which I think was key, was to try and cut out more sugar. And I am terrible at sugar. Like, it is a real weakness of mine. But it's really bad for you. You feel more inflamed. Your muscles aren't working as well as they should. Your body isn't operating the way it should. And so this year I've really been trying to avoid sugar as much as I can. I'm not obsessive about that. I'm not as good as I should be, but that's something that I really credit with being able to operate at a high level throughout the year. In terms of supplements, I don't really take that many. I do take zinc every now and then. I take vitamin D every now and then. I did in the summer for a period of about 2 or 3 weeks take collagen and creatine. They didn't sit with me great, to be honest. And the creatine in particular made me just feel bloated and heavy all the time. Apparently it's good for a performance benefit, and in the high mileage weeks maybe it helped me recover a bit better, and certainly I was taking it in some of the high mileage weeks, but I just felt like it wasn't what I wanted. I wasn't getting from it what I felt like I needed to get from it, and if it makes you feel worse, I decided against it. I'm not going to be taking creatine at this stage, and I'm not convinced about the performance benefits for endurance runners. Maybe it's good for recovery, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but I didn't feel like the performance benefits justified the detriments. Just recently, I've started experimenting with heat sources, like trying to get in a sauna as much as I can, trying to get in a hot tub as much as I can, or at least a hot bath. I'm told that it's good for me. It's one of those invisible things, I guess, where it increases your blood plasma, and so I'm sure that's good for me. I haven't seen any massive noticeable changes, although I think if you're doing that, I felt at one point I was a little bit dehydrated. So those are the reasons why I think I ran a PB this year, age 51. Obviously, I'm over the moon with the way the year went. When you've run a 15-minute 5K, a 33 very low 10K, a 73 half, and a 236 marathon, you can't be upset. That is a great year. And I'm extremely excited to see if these performance goals can continue into the next year, 2026. The next race is the Houston Half Marathon in January, so join along for the ride. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, because it's going to be wild and we're going to go for some big times in Houston in 2026. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Please mash that like button, and I'll see you very soon.